Right, how are we all doing, everyone? Welcome back to the series of Taking the Risk, the series where I document my journey of a full-time day trader, taking you through the highs and the lows of trading, and also just taking you through my lifestyle, showing you exactly what I get up to, and also showing you guys some of the habits that I incorporate outside of trading that hopefully you can take away as well. In today's video, it's going to be a little bit of a different one. So from the first video that I uploaded, I reviewed my trading journal. So I've had a lot of questions in terms of the trading journal. A lot of people have kind of asked me questions in terms of the results that I've had this year from trading, and I've also had a lot of questions in terms of how I've structured my journal and how to make sure that it's structured in a way that I know that I'm consistently improving. So I'm really looking forward to kind of taking you through that. We did have one trade this morning in London session. It was a break-even trade. It was relatively choppy this session. We swept Asia low, but I'll review it a little bit later on with you guys. So plan of action now is I'm going to go to the beach. I'm gonna go do my cold plunge, and then once I've done my cold plunge, I'm gonna head back home, get showered, get myself some food, and then we're gonna jump straight on the chart. So this video is gonna be heavily trading based. So if you're a trader or you're an aspiring trader looking to kind of get into this space, stay tuned because I think this video is gonna be really valuable to yourself. So with that being said, let's do it. So of course, gotta rep the socks and sliders as always. These are the current views. Oh, they got the sunbeds on the beaches now. You can tell it's getting into season, to be honest. It's a beautiful sea though, nice little scenery. The good thing is as well, so you can walk all along here. It's like a massive boardwalk, and you can walk all across the coast of Cyprus. It's amazing. And there's my local church where I go and worship God. It's so nice in there actually. Do you know what, I might actually quickly take you in there and just show you because I think it's really cool. It's like a really nice kind of church. Now in Cyprus it's very, very religious and it's such a beautiful place. So I'll come here early morning, really show my appreciations. It's just a completely different vibe to what you get in the UK. Right, so plan on doing a couple of minutes in here today. You can see it's quite windy as well, so it's going to be colder than usual. Oh, it's like genuinely one of my favourite parts of the day though, to be honest. There's so many health benefits to doing a cold plunge. It's not easy when you live in Yorkshire and you don't live near the coast, but yeah, I'm going to do as long as I can in here today. I'm not really a good swimmer, so I just kind of go to like the shallow end and I'll just kind of plunge myself. But yeah, see how we get on today. Do it. Okay, so just finished trading New York session. One break-even trade in New York as well. So pretty much a break-even day for me. 2 trades, 2 break-evens. Managed the risk really tightly today just due to how we were moving. And also we did have some news as well throughout the day. And then we also had Donald Trump speaking. So I was a little bit kind of concerned on how the markets were going to move. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through my trading journal, show you exactly how it's structured. Before I do that, I'll also review the trades that I took both in London and New York. So with that being said, let's get straight to it. Okay then, so just before we get into the trade breakdown for London and New York, I wanted just to quickly run through the trading journal that has now become completely free to all members within the Discord community. I'm just going to cut straight into it. So at the bottom here is our trading calendar. This is quite simply where we'll input all of our returns for each day. I can simply come here, press on this plus, input whichever return I got. So let's say it was a 2-hour day. I can simply input this here, click off, and it will input it here. I can then simply, at the end of the month, calculate obviously my returns, come down to the bottom here, and I can input how much return I had for the month. And this is really important data to be collected because let's say, for example, you're at the start of the month and you're already up 8%. Is there really any need to be getting involved in unnecessary trades? No. It allows you to make sure that you're on the right path and make sure that you're not over trading, and it also makes sure that you're consistently profitable long term. If you come down to this section here, this is the playbook section. So obviously you'd have this open with you whilst you trade. You can quite simply click on all of these. So let's say you see a divergence, a sweep of Asia low. You can tick these as you go along, and the more boxes you have ticked shows you the stronger the trade is most likely to be and the more probable it's going to be. And then just down here we've got some very textbook trades that you can always review as well. If you go back off the playbook section, you can come up to here where we have our weekly trading review. This is again for traders who want to review their weeks, so I do this every single Friday. You can quite simply list them or call them, whichever you'd like. This was obviously the start of 2025, and let's say week 15 was a super bad week. You can then simply rant about it, take any screenshots of any trades that you've maybe had that were poor trades. So this is where you'll do it every single week, and you obviously can review your weeks and see, you know, has it been a good week?
Has it been a bad week? What were the highlights? What were the good things and what were the bad things, and what lessons have you taken away from this week? So it's a very simple way of just having your trading journal alongside your playbook, alongside your weekly trading review as well. If you come into here, the backtesting and the 2025 are essentially the same thing. We're just going to backtesting for this purpose. You can quite simply see here that this trading journal is set out very clean, you could say. You can see the trades here. You can obviously see it's color coded, so green being it's a winning trade, red meaning it's a losing trade, and amber meaning it's a break-even trade. I can quite simply press on this trade, for example. In here it's got London session, so it's simply a checklist, so you can obviously choose which session it was, what day of the week it was. You can then also choose percentage risk, your return on investment, your current account balance, and your gross P&L, etc. You can obviously choose here as well which model it was, and the reason it's set out like this is very simple, because I can come here to the filter section. If I press this here, you'll see that these set filters come up. You can also add any filters that you require. However, if I just go to wins, I can simply tick all my wins. It will show me my wins. If I just want to see losses, it will just show me my losses, and obviously same for break-evens. If I just wanted to see my losses and break-evens, as you can see here, they will come up. So it's a really easy way to be able to filter out, if you're looking for a specific thing in your model, or you're looking to reflect and you're looking for specific things, you can just use this filter section. If you just wanted to have a look at the Asia Suite model, you can quite simply tick this box and all the Asia Suite models will come up here as well. So it's a very easy way to access and be able to look back on all of your progress that you've made over the days, weeks, months and years. And over the course of a year, filling this out is going to be super important to look back on, as you'll be able to simply filter out everything and be able to understand everything that's going right and everything that's going wrong in your trading. So as I said, this is now completely free to all members within the Discord community, as long as you're part of the mentorship. So if you'd like this for completely free, comment Discord down below and I'll send you the link. All right, so just going through the trade that we took in London session today. I believe I was the only one that took this in the group. This was a completely discretionary trade. I'm going to kind of talk you through it very quickly before we kind of move on to the trading journal and also the playbook. So this was obviously taken in London. It was taken on Wednesday, which is today. Return on investment obviously zero because it was a break even. We went short, and with this trading journal, it's really nice because you can actually filter out specific things. So if this was a loss, if this was a break even, whichever, I can then filter it to show me those specific trades. In terms of the confluence for this trade, let me just quickly show you here. So we were quite low down in the range. We'd already swept Asia low. What I did like was we had a local div here and the momentum going bearish was very strong. So once we created this gap on the 1 minute time frame, as soon as we inversed it with the momentum, I just got on the return to entry. My entry was just on the edge of the gap with the stops above the gap, and I was just targeting a simple 1 to 2. What I noticed after I took this trade, and this is why it's very important to kind of zoom out into the higher time frames and get conviction in the move. So as you can see here, we started to kind of stall. Price didn't really want to push higher and it didn't really want to push lower. So after the trade was completed, I zoomed out onto the hourly time frame and noticed that we were starting to come into this hourly gap. And once we kind of filled it, this was where we started to stall. So within this kind of wick here that you can see me hovering over, this was exactly where we kind of positioned ourselves. Now, realistically, we don't want to be positioned too low within the gap because a lot of the time you're subject to manipulation, which is exactly what happened to us today. Luckily, with our risk management parameters, we ended up getting out a break-even trade. So just going back, you can see here, this was the kind of range that we were dealing with. Came into discount, obviously where price is cheap. So I was anticipating some form of reaction out of here to then potentially push lower. If I go off of this, just to kind of go through the trade again, you can see that obviously this is where we kind of filled the gap in terms of the wick. We started to get very choppy. Once price came down to here, we was up about 1.5R. I set break even and it was on the next candle that we got stopped out. So not going to complain at that trade. The only issue for me was we were quite low down in the range. My confluences were specifically the local div. We displaced the same gap as ES. So if you were to have a look on ES, this gap was also inversed as well. And then we also showed nice momentum through the gap. I was very confident in the move and it did end up playing out, but you can see here that as soon as the hourly candle closed upon the, I believe this is the 9 a.m. candle, so this opened, obviously this took out all of these highs and then obviously pushed lower. So we just got manipulated, which is absolutely fine. The idea was right, just unfortunately we were too low down in the range. So that was the trade for London. So coming into New York session today, as soon as we opened, we were very bullish. You can see here that we had this massive engulfing candle pretty much from open. We zoom in onto a lower time frame, which is obviously where we're kind of looking to trade. I am not looking to get short anywhere within this. Quite simply, strong open. Obviously, it just looked to me that we were just going to take out all of these highs above. My mentor did mention that we had this gap above here, that he was anticipating some form of reaction off. And what happened was pretty much exactly to what he said. We had these deviation levels, so we use these to kind of predict where price may react from in terms of distribution. So obviously price is distributed, manipulated lower to then obviously have a massive reaction to the upside. And then we can anticipate for the deviation 2, deviation 2.5 and deviation level 4 to be strong areas where price is likely to react from. You can go back, you can backtest this. I can actually show you the settings if you were curious to actually copy these down. I'll just leave them on screen for you for just a moment. But as you can see, these deviation levels are very strong. When it comes to using these as a tool, they can be very important to kind of predicting where price may likely react from. So as you can see here, price came into the deviation 2 to 2.5 and we did see some form of reaction, but this isn't enough for me to get short. What I did have marked out was this gap here. So you can see here, this was on a 2-minute time frame. If we had a closure below this gap, the only issue for me is we have a gap, we have a gap, we have a gap, and we could just react off any of these. So I wanted a little bit more conviction in the move. Once we had a little push higher, we ended up taking out all of these highs. Same on ES as well, I believe. And then as soon as we had the div here, apologies. So we had the div that was created. So once we had this div in place, it made me a little bit more cautious and to say, okay, well, maybe we're looking to go a little bit lower now. Obviously, when we see a div, it's a strong confirmation to us that the market wants to switch direction and potentially go bearish. So once we put this div in place, we started to tap into this higher time frame gap. We were having a little look and zoomed in on price, and obviously on the 2-minute, you've got a nice gap here. On the 3-minute, which is where I took my entry, if we play the next candle, you'll be able to see how we reacted in this gap. So you can see pretty strong rejection. So we tapped into that gap and we had a reaction. A lot of traders, what they will do is they will see this gap and they will just blindly short. So they will have their stops above this and they'll just blindly short without any proper context in terms of the move. Now, although this would have played out in their favor, this is not how we trade. We wait for specific confirmations and we also read candlestick behavior and we also look for momentum. It may sound like a lot, but when I go through my trading playbook later, it's going to make so much more sense because this is actually so simple. When you see all these ICT traders, and I'm not hating on them, they can trade how they like, but when it comes down to the simple things that actually make a trading strategy, this is textbook, and it's so simple and anyone can learn this. So confluences, div, higher time frame gap, we reacted nicely from, and we also have our deviation levels 2 to 2.5 that we were reacting nicely from. Once we had the candle closure here, as soon as we closed this candle, I got short. So as soon as the candle closed, I got short. Now, if this candle didn't close, would I enter here? The answer is no. The reason being is because this candle could just reject straight away, just like it's done here. It could just reject straight away. This candle closed and I got in short. So I had my stops above the gap and my full target was this low down here for a risk reward of 2. So what I understood was this gap here was previously respected. Now I'm going to play my risk very tight here. The main reason being is because we've been very bullish from open, so we may just continue higher. But there's a high chance that this may want to continue lower. So as soon as we tap into this gap, I'm looking to set break even. Very tight risk. And it's very much worth the reward over a long-term basis when you're tight with your risk like this. This is not an A+ setup, but it's textbook. It's something that happens time and time again. And if I see this setup, I'm more than happy to take it. So price comes in, we inverse this 3-minute gap. Quite simply, I got short. Price ended up coming nicely down. Obviously, at this point, I was set break even. We ended up coming up to, I think it was a decent risk reward, 1.5. If my take profit was there, I'd have happily taken that. We obviously had the risk reward of 2 marked out. So set my break even, and then unfortunately we did get stopped out at break even, literally by a tick. And then I believe we ended up coming up a little bit higher before we eventually kind of sold off. So that was the New York trade. Again, very textbook for us. Again, if this was on a 1-minute time frame, if you'd have played this gap here, I can just show you very quickly. So this gap here, obviously we inverse this gap. You could have entered off this candle here, stops above the gap, and then you could have targeted a risk reward of 2. The reason I didn't enter off the 1 minute time frame is very specific, because although yes, this candle has closed on the 1 minute, on the 3 minute, this hadn't closed. So it says to me that, okay, I'm going to just wait. I'm going to be patient and I'm going to wait for my confirmation, because this 3 minute candle didn't close. This could just retrace and then continue lower. So I'm just being patient. I got off on the 3 minute. I'm not going to complain at that trade though. I think it was relatively textbook and I'm pretty happy with it.
That is going to cut it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'm actually recording this outro 2 days later. I've had a really busy week, so haven't managed to get the video out just yet, but you should be seeing this video by now. It's been a good week. It's been a very positive week, and in terms of the weekly review, that should be out as well relatively soon. The upload schedule is probably going to be every 5 days. The last thing I want to do is just blast out content and make it repetitive, so I want to try and make it as interesting as possible for you guys. So it's going to be every 5 days it should be uploaded. So with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy. Links in the description for my Instagram. Drop me a DM if you want the trading journal. Happily send that across to you. Obviously, you would have to be part of the mentorship, but obviously I can leave you all the information that you need about that as well. So with that being said, have a great week, and I look forward to catching you all in the next one. Take care.